There's no shortage of PCOS recommendations out there, and if you've been the one sorting through all of them, you're probably already figured out that insulin resistance is somewhere in the middle of all of this, hopefully. You've seen some studies, you've tried an isotalol, maybe berberine, maybe you cut out your carbohydrates, maybe some fasting, and you were right. Check this out. Last week, a couple weeks ago, the medical journals finally caught up to where you've been. They finally caught up to what our practice has been saying for years. They renamed the condition, putting the mechanism front and center. The same one that we've been working on with patients for years. And that rename reveals what even the good surface level advice still missed. I'm Dr. Jones, DC, and I lead a clinic where our medical team has been treating PCOS as a metabolic inflammatory condition for years, long before the journals made it official just a couple weeks ago. Now, my colleague, Dr. Allen, handles the functional medicine side of this work. And between the two of us, we've watched hundreds of women finally make sense of why their bodies have been doing what they've been doing. So before I get into the rename of what it actually means for your treatment, here is something that you can use today. If you have PCOS, or you suspect that you do, and your fasting insulin has never been tested, that's a single lab that you want to ask for at your next visit. Not glucose, not A1C, fasting insulin. And if that number comes back above 10-ish, depending on what lab you're using, the pattern that we're about to break down may already be running behind the scenes. And even when every other number on your panel reads as normal, it's the single most important number that most women with this condition have never even seen. Now, about that rename. So on May 12th, the Lancet renamed the condition. PCOS is now called PMOS, Polyendocrine Metabolic Ovarian Syndrome. So read that again. Polyendocrine Metabolic. Ovarian got demoted to the back of the name. And that order matters. And here's what most headlines missed. The cysts in the original name, they're not true cysts in the way that most people think of them. They are underdeveloped follicles, eggs that never matured because the hormonal environment wouldn't allow it. The original name described a structural finding on an ultrasound, but the new name describes the actual disease. And this is the difference between treating a shadow and treating a mechanism. So if the name was built on a structural misread, what about the treatments that were built on top of it? Every standard intervention that you have ever been offered for this condition was designed around an organ, not the metabolic engine that the new name finally puts at the front. So here's the prescription almost every woman gets. Birth control to mask the symptoms, the just lose weight speech for everyone else. And if you've been on this script for God knows how many years, and you already know how it ends. Symptoms come back the second you stop. And the weight loss part, your body fights you on it like physics don't freaking apply. Now, some research on combined oral contraceptives have shown worsened HOMA-IR, elevated fasting insulin, and C-peptide, those are those insulin resistance tests, rising inflammation markers in women with PCOS. For some women with active insulin resistance, certain formulations can make the metabolic picture worse while doing their job of managing symptoms. Now for the second half. When your insulin is chronically elevated, your body is locked into fat storage mode. Insulin is a storage hormone. And while it's elevated, while it's high, the body favors the process of storing fuel, not releasing it. You can eat less, you can exercise more, but your body still fights you on every calorie that you try to release from stored fat. Telling a woman in active insulin resistance to just eat less, exercise more, you'll lose weight, is like telling her to do the one thing that the disease itself protects against. So why does this go on for years? When your gynecologist runs labs, they often don't order the ones that should show what's actually happening. Glucose, A1C, standard cholesterol. All of those come back perfectly normal, while fasting insulin, C-peptide, and inflammatory panels, the markers that should catch this, are almost never measured. So I call this the normal labs trap. The system tells you that everything looks fine, while the actual problem is there, but it's invisible to both of you. The women coming to us have been in this loop for years. The pills speech, everything that looks normal, another year, another set of symptoms, another prescription. So this is how I want you to think about this, all right? Chronic inflammation driven by an unaddressed metabolic engine, that's the fire. Birth control is rearranging the furniture while the house is still on fire. And if that's been you, years of the pill, the just lose weight speech, labs that always come back fine while the symptoms keep getting worse, there's something that I want you to know. You can talk to our team directly by either texting them on the screen or checking that link in the description to get a chance to talk to one of our patient educators first, who will walk through your history, what you've already tried, and if it's a fit, you can learn more about how we can actually get you the changes that you've been searching for years. Now, back to what's driving the fire, because once you see how the chain works, the question of what to do about it, it starts answering itself. So if it's not your ovaries, then what is it? two pathways feeding into one self-reinforcing loop. It starts with insulin. When your insulin levels run chronically high, it pushes the cells in your ovaries that produce the male pattern hormones to ramp up production. So testosterone goes up to levels that it shouldn't be for a woman. And at that same time, that high insulin level starts to drive down a protein called sex hormone binding globulin, or SHBG for short, the one that normally keeps testosterone bound up and less active in your bloodstream. So you've got more testosterone being made and less of the protein that's supposed to leash it, because you don't want too much testosterone as a female. So free testosterone goes up, and here's the part that locks it in place. That high testosterone state makes your insulin resistance worse, which makes insulin, again, because now you're pulsing more insulin, which pushes the ovaries to make even more, and around we go. The loop feeds itself. Now the second pathway, your gut, the lining of your intestines, is supposed to be a one-way door. Nutrients pass through, bacteria and bacterial debris stay on the gut side of the wall. But when the bacteria in your gut shift out of balance, excessive antibiotics, processed food consumptions, chronic stress, take your pick, that wall becomes more permeable, right? There's spaces. Bacterial fragments start crossing into areas where they were never meant to reach. Your immune system reacts the way that it should. It sends off the alarm. Inflammation fires up across your whole body. Here's the part that the standard PCOS, PMOS conversation never gets to. That same inflammation may interfere with the way that your ovaries try to develop eggs. It can contribute to ovarian dysfunction over time, and it makes your insulin resistance worse. And it usually contributes to your ovaries producing more androgens, which are, again, just more male hormones alongside the insulin pathway. So I call this the self-reinforcing loop in the insulin spiral. Inflammation drives up insulin resistance. Insulin resistance drives up more inflammation, and both feed the male androgen production. Androgen excess feeds back into both. Your acne, your facial hair, your stubborn weight issues, your irregular cycles, your fatigue. 5 separate symptoms, but one chain. And this is why our approach is through what's called the 5-system root cause framework. The gut, where the leak starts, the inflammation cascade itself, nutrient deficiencies, dietary triggers that pour fuel on the fire, and the nervous system. We're talking the chronic stress, the cortisol stuck in the on position, destabilizing the whole picture. Now, all of these systems are feeding the insulin resistance spiral, but they are addressable. And this is also why the long-term numbers look the way they do. So women with PCOS carry a significantly higher risk of type 2 diabetes. Now, some analysis put this at 3 times or more and a higher risk of high blood pressure and potentially a higher risk of stroke. These aren't random numbers here. Now, downstream consequences of a metabolic inflammatory engine running unchecked for years. So here's the reframe that changes things, all right? 5 separate symptoms that you've been chasing as separate problems are actually one mechanism. 5 entry points where the chain can be broken. And there are specific tools, most of them not part of standard PMOS care, that hit specific links in that chain. Now, I want you to lock that in for a second. There's a question popping up on your screen right now that'll help it stick. Answer it before we move on. And if you want me to film a video breaking down the exact lab markers that we run for this condition, the fasting insulin, the inflammatory panel, the gut markers, every number that your gynecologist never ordered, let me know in the comments if that would be helpful to you. Okay, so let's start with the most accessible tool that you have. It costs nothing. You don't need a prescription, and it directly hits the insulin and androgen side of the chain. Strategic fasting. Now, I know what you've heard, right? Fasting is dangerous for women. It wrecks your hormones. It crashes your cortisol. You've seen the videos, so have I, trust me. But the reality is more specific than that. And the most recent research is at a turning point here, all right? So recent research compared time-restricted eating with standard caloric restriction in women with PCOS. Same daily calories. One group ate within an 8 to 10 hour window each day, and the other spread their food out normally. Same food in, the only thing that changed was the timing. Okay, so the time-restricted group saw improvements in androgen levels and metabolic markers. The caloric restriction group, eating the same amount of food, did not see the same type of changes. They saw changes, they saw improvements because caloric restriction does work, but not as much. Same calories, different metabolic outcome. Why? Because giving your insulin a long enough window to start to drop every single day is what allows your body to come out of the storage mode that we talked about. While insulin levels stay high, the engine is running. While insulin is suppressed, the engine cools down, and the downstream pressure on your ovaries to keep producing androgens can start to cool off with it. The fasting window isn't about eating less, it's about giving the system room to reset. Intermittent fasting protocols like the 5-2 approach, 5 normal days, 2 reduced calorie days, have always shown promise for improving menstrual regularity in PMOS research. Different protocol, same direction of effect. Now, the important guardrail here, if you have any history of disordered eating, or if you tend to swing into restriction patterns, fasting is not the first tool for you. Working with somebody who can adjust the window for your physiology is the difference between this tool working and this tool backfiring. So fasting hits the insulin and androgen side of the chain. But there's a whole second pathway here, which is the inflammation side, and that fasting alone doesn't fully address. And for that, we need to talk about a tool that most of the women we work with have never even heard of before they came to us. Now, real quick, if what we just covered is the level of depth that you've been looking for, the actual mechanisms, the research, the actual tools, you need to hit that subscribe button so that the rest of this stays on your feed. And be sure to turn on that bell because we put out a video every single week getting into this level of depth. And there's a lot more like this coming.
Quick minute, I wanted to tell you guys about the Flow Academy membership. Essentially, this is my private community on Mighty Networks. You'll have access to a community coach, live coaching calls that I do, which are unsolicited. I don't have to market like my free lives. I'm just there to help you guys out as much as possible. And a ton of free resources as well to guide you through the various protocols that I talk about in these videos. So all you got to do if you're interested in joining that is just become a member to this YouTube page. And then there's a link that you can access after you become a member that'll allow you to join the community. Now back to the video.
So that tool is called LDN, low-dose Naltrexone. It's an older medication originally used at standard doses for addiction recovery. At a small fraction of that dose, off-label, it does something completely different, and it hits the PMOS chain in two ways. First off, the inflammation side. With PMOS is the bigger story. LDN works through anti-inflammatory pathways, and what we see clinically is that when that chronic background inflammation starts calming, insulin markers start to improve. Small studies have also suggested that naltrexone can help some women with PMOS resume ovulation, which makes sense because when the inflammatory pressure on the ovaries decreases, the signaling environment starts to improve. One well-tolerated medication that quiets the inflammatory engine and may support the hormonal environment downstream. Now, most gynecologists don't prescribe it for this condition. And across the patients on this protocol, the response is consistent enough that LDN sits at the top 3 tools that we use for this condition. All right, so there's a question popping up on your screen. Answer it before we move on. And real quick, before we get into the gut tools, there are actually several presentations of this condition. The lean version that gets dismissed, the classic insulin dominant version, the post-pill version. And if you want me to break down which type that you have and what changes about the approach for each one, let me know in the comments telling me which one of these sounds like you, and maybe it'll come up in one of our upcoming videos. So LDN handles the inflammatory engine, but the upstream source of that inflammation, the gut itself, needs its own dedicated tools. So we've talked about fasting on the insulin and the androgen side, LDN on the inflammatory side, but the piece left out is the gut, the upstream source of this whole inflammatory cascade. And this is where almost all of the standard PMOS care goes silent. So the tool that hits this link are called peptides, short protein chains that act like targeted signals to specific cells. Now, 3 of them are particularly relevant here, and each hits a different part of the gut to androgen chain. So first up is BPC-157, often called the body protective compound, a peptide first studied in gastric sourced research. One of its studied effects involves gut barrier support, specifically the proteins that hold the intestinal wall together. Second, we have TB500. This one works further downstream through anti-inflammatory pathways that complement what BPC-157 does on the gut side. Third, we have KPV, a peptide shown to reduce inflammatory signaling at the cellular level. So we pair it with BPC-157 in what we call the BPC-KPV stack. So there's important framing here. These are not PCOS drugs. None of them were developed for this condition. What they are tools that hit specific links in a chain, and PCOS is a chain condition. This is the foundation first principle. Address the metabolic foundation first, fasting, low-dose naltrexone, and the gut work. Then layer peptides as amplifiers, not standalone fixes, amplifiers. Now I want to add a brand new peptide that's hit the scene, lorazepam. Now this one is a total game changer when it comes to gut health because the actual research on lorazepam, specifically in the gut barrier, is for leaky gut. It works on the zonulin, which is the protein that breaks down that's supposed to be protecting the gut barrier that we talked about. These other peptides will help indirectly and a little bit directly, but nothing comes to repairing leaky gut wall barrier issues like lorazepam does. So that's definitely in the peptide protocol for these issues as well. Okay, so there's one more piece of the toolkit here. You probably have only heard about GLP-1 medications in the context of weight loss, and that framing misses what these medications actually do in this condition. They reduce inflammation, they improve insulin sensitivity, and in the women that we work with, we see improvements in androgen levels and cycle regularity. So in our work, low-dose GLP-1s alongside LDN are a powerful combination for women whose inflammation isn't budging with diet and lifestyle alone. So there's the toolkit here. Fasting on the metabolic engine, LDN on the inflammatory engine, gut peptides on the upstream source, GLP-1s as a metabolic inflammatory amplifier. And then we have lorazepam. That's 5 tools, each hitting a specific link in the chain. Now, one more thing before I close this out. Drop a comment below with one thing that you have figured out about your own PCOS that your doctor never told you. I read every single one of these comments and I'll respond to as many as I can with what I'd correct based on the patterns that we see with women on this protocol that we work with. And your comment is also probably going to help somebody else watching who hasn't put the same pieces together yet. So you have the chain, you have the tools. So the question becomes, who orchestrates all of this for your specific version of this condition? And that's what our team does, a 3-pronged approach: root cause, functional medicine through Dr. Allen, advanced metabolic tools, fasting, LDN, peptides, GLP-1s through our medical practitioners, medical oversight, tying it all together, and then of course, coaching throughout this entire program. Most programs give you 1 piece, maybe 2, we give you all 3, because that is what it actually takes. So here's how this works. You can text them on the screen or check out the link in the description to book a free discovery call. You'll talk to a patient educator first, not Dr. Allen, not me, but they're going to walk through your history, your years through the situation, the lose weight speech, the labs that always come back fine. And if you decide to move forward from that free call, they're going to walk you through what it looks like working with Dr. Allen. The Restore Blueprint program, the labs, the 12-month structured approach for your specific chain. This is not about replacing your doctor or stopping your medications. It's about adding the pieces that they were never going to address. And if you don't need the full Restore Blueprint, but rather the right peptides with medical oversight, that's an option too. You have not been imagining this. You have been right. And there is a path forward that actually matches the condition that you actually have. And if you've been told the same thing about your thyroid, that everything looks normal while you keep feeling exhausted, foggy, and stuck, I made a whole video on Hashimoto's that uses the same framework that we just walked through. There it is right there, guys. We'll see you later.